know him better as the legendary pitching coach for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and he joins us here on Halftime. Jorny, I guess it's been since the start of the season. I think I saw you early this season, but it's crushing me without college baseball right now. It must be hitting you in the fields too. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Excuse me, but yeah, you're right. This is rough. I mean, this is the type of year you always look forward to with baseball and everything. And now that the weather's turning nice, you don't even have it. So it's tough.
Yeah, and I couldn't stay up last night to watch the opening day of Korean baseball, even though I wanted to. 1 in the morning is doable, but it just wasn't in the cards for me. So I'm going to try to wake up as early as I can and watch that. You plan on watching any of these games? Because those of us who are used to watching baseball in person, sometimes on television it doesn't quite translate the same, but I feel like we're all jonesing for the game, so we'll watch any way we can.
Yeah, I plan on watching some games, particularly when the SK Wyverns are televised, because that's the team I work for and was affiliated with in 2017. So I know they still have one foreigner there, Jamie Romack, that I'll be looking forward to following his progress and see how he's doing. But I think last night it was NC and Samsung playing last night. So, they got a 10-team league over there, and some of the guys I'm familiar with, but a lot of the foreign guys, they spend a year or two there, and then they move on. They're trying to get hooked up back to the big leagues over here.
As I understand, each team can have 3 foreigners, which I guess can mean anybody from outside South Korea. So, there are Americans on each team, I guess, but that doesn't mean that it's an American baseball culture. What to you felt like, maybe not the main difference, but some of the differences that you picked up on between the way the game is played in Korea and the way that it's played in the United States?
Well, it's pretty similar. Excuse me. They're not as deep with pitching over there. So typically with the 3 imports that you're allowed, 2 of them are going to be starting pitchers. They don't possess a lot of velocity, the native guys. They rely more on breaking balls, pitching away with a fastball and trying to throw a lot of fork balls and just try to miss a lot of bats, and they wind up walking a few guys. But typically, it's pretty similar to what we do over here. It's not a small ball league. There's a lot of home runs hit, although last year I think they toned the ball down, and they didn't hit near as many home runs as they had the previous 2 years. But, there's a few guys that can run, but not a lot of stolen bases. They play good defense, and they rely upon the 2 starting pitchers, 2 foreign starting pitchers to carry them to championships.
Now, is it a game that's played with metal bats or wooden bats?
No, it's wood. It's wood bats.
So, and the one thing that always stood out to me, and I've only seen these on highlight reels, and I wondered what your reaction to it was. Everybody talks about the bat flip culture of Korean baseball, and it's entered into American baseball much more in the last few years. But it's still not as much a part of the game, the celebration of the home run. But these guys really throw these bats. I mean, really throw them. I would assume that that's not something you took a big liking to when you first started there, but you just had to kind of accept it, right?
Yeah, it's a different culture, typically you try to, when you go over there as an American, I went with Trey Hillman, who's now the first base coach for the Marlins. He had managed the Royals before, and he's a good friend of mine. So we went over there together, and it's a culture where, although they want to make some changes and adjustments, they really don't deep down want to change too much. So basically, you're just going over there and trying to win their trust and kind of fit in. So you just kind of roll with it, but. It gets a little comical sometimes because they bat flip on high fly balls that are outs, not just home run.
Speaking to former Arkansas pitching coach Dave Jorn, Dave, just want to talk about just a little bit. What was your reasoning for stepping away from Razorback baseball following the conclusion of the 2016 season?
Well, I just felt like my energy level wasn't really where it needed to be anymore. There's so much. It's so demanding in college baseball. It's not all about, the games and everything, which were fine. But, the recruiting, it's nonstop. It's just there's just a lot going on. And so basically what I wanted to do, I just wanted to step away from that in a little bit less, in a more of a relaxed environment. Like going into pro baseball, back into pro baseball, which I had done for 13 years. And, just go down to rookie ball and work from March to September and, have 6 months off.
Do you think coaching pitchers has changed at all since you left Arkansas? Because I know previously while you were there, you had several, and I want to ask you about that here in just a second, but you had several good, solid pitchers. Do you think the coaching of pitchers has changed since you've left Arkansas?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I mean, the analytics and science and stuff like that have taken over, with TrackMan and Rapsodo and, just all those things. It's like the kids are relying upon that these days where, back when I was there, we never used any of those things. It was just typically and basically on what my eye was able to see and just show them what it was like to be able to go out there and pitch. And, we use the fastball a lot more than what's being used these days. Today it's a little bit more of an off-speed and breaking ball type of situation.
You coached Cy Young Award winner Dallas Keuchel during your time at Arkansas. When he won that, he was with the Astros, now with the Chicago White Sox. What was a player like him? What was he like to coach? Because he was a very good, solid pitcher for Arkansas, and he translated over into the major leagues. What was he like when he was a Razorback?
Well, he was easy. He always had good work ethic, and he had great aptitude for his craft and his position. And he was a strike thrower. He was a pitcher. Coming out of high school, at Bishop Kelly High School over there in Tulsa, he wasn't a power guy. He was a well below average fastball guy that had a curveball and a changeup. Then he could spot up his fastball probably around 84 to 86, somewhere in that range. So he was a joy to work with because for me, I was never wrapped up in velocity that much. I was more about pitchability, ball location, ball movement, change of speeds, that type of thing. And, he learned how to sink the ball and he learned how to cut it a little bit in his 3 years.
And, of course, he worked with James McCann. And we've got James coming on the show Friday, and they're both with the White Sox now. Now, I know maybe you can't play favorites here and there, but when you got an entire battery from one of your teams at Arkansas, now with the same major league team, it's going to be pretty difficult not to root for the White Sox, isn't it?
No, I'd definitely be a White Sox fan. I want to be a fan from wherever our guys are at. Definitely root for those kids.
So do you?
James was a pleasure too, by the way. Really, really smart guy that never really hit in college, but because he was so smart, he was able to figure out who he was and what he needed to do with the bat, and he's had a lot of success and he's done really well for himself at the big league level.
Dave, when you're a pitching coach, and one of the things you're so good at doing is communicating with your players and with everybody, I think. It always hit me how your pitchers loved you coaching them, but they just liked you talking with them, telling stories. They love sitting around with you in the dugout or the bullpen and communicating, and I thought that was one thing that stood out about you. I wonder how much when you're coaching not just your pitchers but your catchers, do you have to teach or mold better communicators? Because for me, that's what catchers have to do more than anything else. They've got so many people to communicate with. Do you have to, mold communicators when you're dealing with your catchers?
Yeah, I think it's really important that, you can't be real introverted, and you have to be really confident in who you are and the knowledge that you have behind there. It's not so much, or at least it wasn't for us, so much that the catcher would work together with the pitcher because, I called all the pitches. So it was more, what was more involved was the catcher letting me know between he and I, letting me know what was going on in the batter's box. If the guy was moving around in the box, if he's moving up on the plate, moving up in the box, being able to communicate with the umpire, letting me know if we were getting 6 inches off the plate, stuff like that. So that was the big thing for me with our catchers.
So I still see you at Razorback games at Baum-Walker Stadium. You know, you're still scouting. But I feel like you left the program after 2016, but there's nothing that you can do except take all pride in the accomplishments that you and Norm and Dave and all your players and the assistant coaches and all the time that you spent at Arkansas and throughout your entire career. I mean, you had a really long and still do have a long life in baseball. But I think you probably view yourself as a Razorback first and foremost. Would that be accurate?
Oh, absolutely. You know, in 2 stints, 20 years working there, and it's hard not to. I mean, this is just a great place. I mean, I love it. I've always loved it.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by with us, Jorny. It's really great to talk with you. I hope I see you. I know I will next baseball season. I just wish it would have been, like this weekend at Baum-Walker. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But we'll keep in touch. Take care.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.
You got it. The one and only Dave Jorn. Man, he's a lot of fun to talk baseball with. He's laid
He knows
back,
his stuff.
Knows his stuff. Did he sound like John Wayne?
He did. He did just a little bit. Yeah, I can see it.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Where you get him talking with an umpire that didn't like the strike zone, maybe you might sound a little bit more like him. Huh?